Welcome to the 2021 version of the 5-minute webinar series looking at the way the new and revised standard work. My name is Ken Gaines and I'm the Technical Advisor for the Digital and IT sector here at City and Guilds. This webinar will look at the requirement to put an apprentice through Gateway that you are responsible for. The Endpoint Assessment, EPA, will now involve a project with a Q&A as one assessment method, and the other will be a professional discussion based on the portfolio. Most assessment plans require the apprentice to provide a project report to be submitted prior to the Q&A session, but some may also require the apprentice to do a presentation at the Q&A session itself. Having agreed the contract with the employer, performed initial assessment of the apprentice, and having completed the learning phase of the program, you now need to work with the employer to see if they are satisfied that the apprentice is consistently working at or above the level of the standard. If so, then the apprentice is ready for Gateway. But there is a notable key change to what is required at Gateway now. The Gateway declaration is still needed to be completed, and you will need to submit proof of English and Maths at the required level. But we no longer need certificates of any qualifications or vendor programs the apprentice may have done. What we will need before Gateway can be declared as being met will be the portfolio of evidence that will underpin the professional discussion assessment. We may still refer to this as a summative portfolio, as it should still be examples of their best work and not everything they have done. The other change in regard to the portfolio is it is based on specific knowledge, skills and behaviours, KSBs, and not all of the outcomes of the standard as with the previous versions. The apprentice, with your help, should focus on activities to be presented as evidence to meet these KSBs. Make sure that there is still a mapping document to show where the KSBs have been met within the evidence, and remember, if knowledge elements are missing or sketchy, then the professional discussion will spend time on those and your apprentice could miss out on more stretch and challenge questions that would enable them to get a distinction. Although not shown here on this diagram, Software Developer Standard also requires the apprentice to submit a 500-word summary of their proposed project they will undertake during the EPA period. City and Guilds now uses a system called EPA Pro to manage the whole apprenticeship process. So once you have submitted the Gateway required documents, it can take up to 3 days for that to be checked and accepted or rejected to confirm Gateway. Shortly after, we will appoint an independent endpoint assessor, EPA, and you will be able to set up a planning meeting with them, including your apprentice and the employer if you wish, to fix the dates for the Q&A and professional discussion and agree when the project evidence will be submitted. Please note the dates here do not include the project period and are around the activities driven by EPA Pro. With EPA Pro, we introduced a planning meeting, but this is no longer mandatory as part of the process, though it is advised you hold one with your first apprentices going through the new or revised standards to establish the pattern for the EPA. You may ask for the Q&A and the professional discussion to be done one after the other for efficiency in use of the apprentice's time. Results for each assessment method will be posted into EPA Pro within 7 days of the activity taking place. The final overall grade will then be published 7 days later, and we will send the necessary paperwork to ESFA for them to sign off and produce the IFATE certificate. In the meantime, we will issue your apprentice with a digital credential for their grade against the standard, so do not forget to provide us with their email address. For Gateway evidence, we now require you to provide English and Maths certificates at the appropriate level, the Gateway declaration, and the portfolio of evidence. And for Software Developer, there's also the 500-word project summary. We do not need any other certifications, and we do not need proof of the 20% off the job. You do not have to hold the planning meeting. You can now just set up the dates for the Q&A and the professional discussion. But remember to allow sufficient time for the project to be done and the evidence to be submitted 10 working days prior to the meetings. The length of time for the projects is stated not only in our EPA handbooks, but also in the IFATE assessment plan. For more information and support, we have various ways for you to contact us and several webinars and newsletters for you to refer to. The government also has various sites to get the latest updates on funding, and IFATE have their own site for you to check what is being revised in terms of standards, as well as getting the new standards and assessment plans. David and I are also at the end of an email if you wish to chat further in terms of City and Guild's approach to digital standards. We would be happy to set up calls with you to discuss this further. Thank you for listening, and check out the other webinars in the latest 2021 series available on the Digital and IT Updates and Webinar page at cityandguilds.com.